Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Martin, I'm an artist from Denmark, and you're watching Danish Palms. So guys, for today's video it's all about custom, since a customer reached out to me and asked me for a mission. Building him a custom wooden box made of oak, walnut and some veneer in rosewood. This box has to contain color pencils and uni pen markers, since this guy likes to draw like I do. The only strict rule, all his drawing supplies has to lay horizontal. Therefore I had to rip my brain around it, start sketching and came up with an idea that the wooden box had to be opened like a book. On each side will contain 3 layers of storage unit. 4 of them will contain color pencils and 1 unit for uni pen markers, and the last layer for a custom layer. So for starting this project, I decided to start with the 6 layers of storage unit, building in solid oak in different sizes and thickness. Here I'm going to cut in 45 degrees angle, so I can assemble each corner for the storage units. After the router table, making sure that surface are flat and plain, putting it to the table vise and removing the last strips of wood. These pieces of wood that I'm working on here are the front pieces for the storage unit. After I've been working on the front pieces, I'll make sure that they are ready to go. We are going to the table and then we are ready to glue them. I'm going to start on each corner, making sure that all the glue is coming out in all the small cracks. Then I'm going to press it, assembling it and holding it tight with some blue painter's tape. After been gluing all the corners, assembling it, holding it tight, the painter's tape, I'm going to use some rubber bands, hold them in place. And this is where the walnut has to go in for the floor. Here is the board of solid walnut. I am going to take it to the machine and cut it to size so it fits for all the layers. After attaching the walnut boards, it's time to wipe off all the excess glue on the outside and inside. Make everything nice and clean. And now it's time for the other walnut. Here is satin walnut veneer, 3 mm thick. I'm going to cut it to length and cut it to sizes so I can work on the lid that has to go on top of the box. Using this hobby pole saw. I know it's not the recommended size for a job like this, but I choose to go with this because the blade is really thin, the teeth are really sharp and it makes a really crisp and straight cut. After being on the machine, cutting it to sizes, it's time to go for the router table and make all the edges really crisp, thin, so it slides easily into the grooves of the boxes. After that, I'm going to take some thin pieces of oak, cut it to sizes so it fits on top of the lid on the boxes. After I found the size that I need, I'm going to cut it in a 45 degrees angle so it fits for the corners of the box. After I think the fit is perfect, I'm gonna bring them over to the table and start routing them down since they're too thick and I need them to be the same height as the rest of the frame. After the strips are perfect in height, I'm going to glue it just with the right amount of glue so it doesn't make mistakes when it's curing. After the gluing, I'm going to use a couple of clamps, making sure that it's really tight, steady, let it sit for curing. And the result, nice and clean. And officially done with the 6 layers. And now to a different ball game. Now I'm going to go over to the laser and start cutting the inventory for the storage units. And here on the screen you can see the shapes that we need to cut for the inlay of the storage units. The shapes you see the laser cuts here, it's in the solid walnut, the brown one. The shape that came out was really perfect. And after been cutting all the pieces that I need for the inlays, it's time to clean them up. And in this case I will use a round file and go through all the grooves, since the laser are cutting with a high precision and with all the solder that the laser is producing by cutting with fire or cutting with a laser beam. And now the only thing left to do is just to glue all the parts together, put them into the inlay, and then we are done with the storage units. And if you guys remember, I was talking about a custom layer. So here is some oak strips, cutting it for sizes and then making a custom layer. And for the custom layer, it's more about the smaller rooms. A lot of them and one long one. For rulers, erasers, pencils, brushes, and so on and so on. And what I'm showing you here on the screen is the shape that we are going to cut for the outside box, the big one. And after checking that all the shapes and forms align correctly, we are going to send the information to the console and then get the laser to start working. So here is the finished result. After admiring the new cut pieces from the laser, I am preparing to start working on the router table, routing a line in 2 mm in depth and using a router bit on 5 mm in thickness, because I am now preparing for making the pattern on the side. After routing the line for the pattern on the board, it's time for give it some glue, spreading it really good and nice in the crack, and then get ready to work on the pattern using 2 types of woods, 1 list of mahogany and 2 lists of abachi wood. So guys, after finish gluing all 8 pieces, we came to this result. And it looks amazing, and I'm really satisfied with the result. And here, 8 pieces of oak, 5 mm in thickness, routing them flat and plain, so I have a steady surface to work on. And then I will start to glue them together, since the boards are not big enough in size for the pieces that I need. So we are finished, guys. Nice flat surface. After the gluing process, clamping them, curing them, putting them into the laser and get the laser to cut the same pattern as we did on the walnut. since we later on is gonna glue them together to the walnut, make the walls thicker and stronger, and also for the looks of it. After the gluing, the precision, it's time for it to cure. Let's put on some weights. And now let's move over to the table saw. Then here on the table saw, I am going to cut some oak on thickness of 10 millimeters, since I need bigger pieces for the midsection of the unit to hold the 6 layers of storage unit. Therefore I need a lot of pieces, and also these pieces needs to be glued together. So let's do that. After the curing time on the table, I'm going to take the boards to the bandsaw and start cutting in both directions for the shape and size that I need. After been working and taking a little visit on the bandsaw, I am going to bring the new fresh cut boards to the router table and route it so it's super flat. And once again 45-degree cuts, so we can assemble all the corners like we did in the start of the work, putting all the corners together with strong glue and then holding them tight with some painter's tape. Okay guys, here are the 2 boxes, cured and dry. And now it's time to make the measuring for the hinges. Since I have designed the inner frame to go down as a ramp, we need hinges so it can go up and down. Therefore I'm going to use some masking tape, marking the area where I'm going to place the hinges. After the measuring, I'm going to bring it to the router table using 3mm router bit. I'm going to route it to the exact spot where I put my marks, so it will be parallel with the wooden side of the frame. And here are the wooden frames. And the result turned out really amazing. I'm really happy. And now on the bandsaw, we need to make a diagonally cut. Since the box is turning when it goes in and out, then we need to make sure that there is space enough for the sealing of the outside box. And as you can see here on the shape, it's straight and also diagonally, so it's almost circular. And here a beautiful rosewood veneer, 0.65mm thick. Because I was thinking that it would be pretty cool if we glue that on the front of the frame to make something different about the looks. Plus it goes really well with the dark walnut, and it gives that pop factor since it's more reddish and brown colored. And cutting the leftovers of the rosewoods, since there's still fresh glue underneath, after that I'm gonna clamp it and let it cure over time. And now guys, it's time to work on the hinges. Because here I am mixing 2 component epoxy resin, a part A and a part B 1:1 ratio. It's used to repair cracks, damaged corners and other things that is broken, and that is the way to go. So the reason I decided to go for the epoxy resin, these brass screws are so tiny, and since the wood is shorter than the screws, then I have to cut off the tip of the screw, and therefore I will go with the epoxy resin. I will put it on the screws and then I will screw it down in the hinges. And make sure that after the tip comes up, I will bite it off, and when the epoxy resin is cured, it's gonna be so strong and hold the screws in place. After been biting the tips of the screws with a plier, filing it with a really fine file, I'm using some soft wax that is created for natural wood. And talking about hinges, here are 2 big brass ones. These ones are called vaulting hinges. These ones are the ones I'm gonna mount on the back side of the big box. And for that I'm gonna use a template. We are talking about a template made of acrylic that I cut on the laser, and I think I made 10 or 12 pieces. And I put them together with double-sided tape, and I'm gonna use the handhold router for that. Now we are finished of the routing of the surface. Now I'm taking some measuring on the hinges, because the mechanical part is in the middle. It's where it's opening and closing. Therefore we need to dig deeper into the material. And now guys, it's time to assemble the biggest box of them all, the cover, the layer that holds all the other units. So let's go ahead and start gluing. So I'm going to start by gluing into all of the ducktails, making sure that there is enough glue. And also you're probably wondering why I'm using masking tape. And that is simply because I don't want glue to be anywhere else than necessary. After all corners have been glued and they are proper sealed, I am going to use some bigger clamps, make sure that they are really tight in both ends and all angles. And here it is, after been queuing. It looks really nice. I'm happy about the result. And now to the bandsaw and cut some wooden strips. And after been cutting the wooden strips, I am going to cut all of the ends in 45 degrees. So, if you already haven't guessed it, the strips that I cut, I will use them to make the box stronger, but it also has a purpose, because I'm going to glue all of them inside of the box in the back end. And after that, I'm going to attach some more walnut and actually make a backside for the box. And here it is, after curing. Used little time and sanding it so it's really smooth and nice to touch. Here's the other walnut panel. Let's cut it to size and start gluing it. And make sure that the walnut really fits to all the corners. Make it super straight, because when this glue is cured, it's all too late. Therefore, use some heavy weights, put it on the board and let it cure over time. And after that, I'm going to use a wooden planer. Since this wooden planer is so tiny and actually not been created for this type of work, But anyway, I'm going to use it because the edges of the glue is not that much and I can easily take it with this one. And after been using some sandpaper, making it smooth and nice, then I'm going to the router table, routing all the corners and edges round, making it really organic and also super nice feeling to it when you have it in your hand. And now let's drill some holes for the hinges on the other half of the box. And now, let's give it some soft wax and let's enjoy the transformation from matte to something really alive. And now, let's put them together and put in all the screws. Okay guys, as you can see, all the boxes have been waxed, put in place. And now we need to drill a hole for the magnets for when the box is closed. It has that nice feeling to it, so you can feel that it's really closing. And now you can see guys, magnets there, 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 there. The same goes here, one there, one there, one there, and one there. So the last thing we need to do now, before it's 100% finished, is just to take some really hard beeswax, buff it up and polish it so it really pops. Before I show you the last recordings, just want to shout out to all of you guys that's watching and always being supportive to my channel. To all of you, thank you so much. So guys, we are finally finished with the polish and it looks amazing. And with these last words, may I present to you the art box and its functionalities.